Time last night with the group, getting to meet many of you and had the chance to sit at the same table with John Wall, who doesn't know how to spell his last name. And if you haven't had the opportunity, by the way, to do that, you should. It was really exciting for me to be able to watch and to hear John eat. But it was, I'm glad to be here. I'm so sorry that I'm not going to be able to play golf with you people this afternoon. What a great day for golf, huh? See a great ball game, well, sort of great ball game last night. Didn't get to go out and play golf this afternoon. I love golf. I'm bad at golf. I'm very bad. I had to have my ball retriever re-gripped twice this year already. I had this opportunity in one of my speaking gigs a few years ago to speak at one of these places out on the West Coast, and as part of the deal, I got to play golf on a really cool golf course. It's one of these golf courses where they require you to use a caddy. And I was having one of my typically really, really bad days, spraying them all over the place. I remember we were out looking for my ball, and the caddy came up to me and said, "Sir, I think this is your ball." And I said, "That can't possibly be my ball. That ball's too old." He said, "Sir, we've been out here a long time." We were standing in the fairway. Well, we weren't standing in the fairway. We were standing someplace near the fairway, and I was looking up towards the green and said, "What do you think? Do you think I could reach that with a 5-iron?" He said eventually that I could. And at the end of the game, we were walking out to the car, and he was carrying my bags out to the car, put the clubs in the back of the trunk. And out in front of the parking lot, there was this big lake. And I turned to him and I said, I feel so badly about my game, I think I'm going to walk out in that lake and just drown myself. He said, "Sir, I don't think you can keep your head down long enough to do that." So it was kind of a bad experience. I bring you greetings from LSU, the 2003 National Championship football team. 2003. Thank you very much. Now, there is a team on the West Coast that claims that they were the 2003 national champion football team, but we all know what is true, right? We all know the truth. There's been this great kind of interesting rivalry going on between USC and LSU ever since that event. There was this LSU grad that was on a plane in Atlanta, Delta flight going from Atlanta into New Orleans, or Nolans, as we call it. And it was one of these three seats kind of configurations on the plane, and he got the aisle seat, and sitting next to him were two other guys, a guy in the middle seat and a guy in the window seat. He sits down in the plane, and he introduces himself. Turns out that they're USC graduates. Couldn't believe it. So they started ragging each other about who really was a national championship football team. The plane takes off, and the seatbelt goes off. For some reason, the stewardesses are not bringing around any drinks. And the LSU guy had taken off his loafers, was kind of relaxed, and he turns to these two guys and said, "Look, I'm really thirsty. Would you like to have a Coke? I'll go up and get us a Coke." They said, "Sure, that'd be great." So he gets up, he pads down the aisle. The minute he gets up, the USC guy in the middle seat reaches down and picks up one of his loafers, spits it, puts it back down. Guy comes back, sits down, gives him the Coke. They start ragging each other a little bit more. And he says, "I'm still thirsty. Would you guys like another Coke?" They said, "Sure, it'd be great." So he gets up, he pads down the aisle. The guy in the window seat reaches down, picks up his other loafer. Big old wad of spit, puts it back down. Guy comes back, gives him the Cokes. They rag each other a little bit more. The plane starts to descend into New Orleans, and the LSU guy puts on his shoes and realizes just like that what had happened. And he says, "I can't believe you people. I mean, this USC-LSU rivalry thing has just gone way too far. I mean, this is just way out of hand. I mean, here we are spitting in shoes, peeing in Coke. I mean, really, we just flat can't keep this up." One last thing I want to mention before we get started is it's been an interesting year. I get to go around traveling all over the country giving talks, and an interesting year, I think, in terms of people who died. Did you see where Fay Ray died this past year? Anybody see it? How many people know who Fay Ray is? You know who Fay Ray is? Yeah, that's the crowd would know him. Fay Ray, famous for what movie? King Kong, yeah. King Kong, now there's an interesting scene in King Kong which to this day I do not understand. You remember that great scene when King Kong is on top of the Empire State Building and the planes are circling around him and all this kind of stuff, and he's holding Fay Ray out like this. Y'all remember that scene? Do you remember what Fay Ray said? She said, "Let me go." I don't know about you people. I would have been saying something like, "I really dig apes," or whatever. But the other famous person that died that this group would particularly know, I think, is Red Adair. Huh? Houstonian. Red Adair was a Houstonian, wasn't it? How many of you know who Red Adair is? You all know who? Yeah, sure, yeah. Red Adair, the famous oil well firefighter. Great story told about Red Adair. When the first Gulf War occurred, Red was called over to Kuwait to put out the fires that, or we say in Texas, the fires, that Saddam Hussein had set. And he was over there fighting. He gets this urgent call from Houston and said, get back here right quick. We got a big fire out in the Gulf of Mexico. We need your help to put out this fire. So Red just throws some stuff in a bag. This private plane picks him up, flies him here to Houston, takes him offshore for 2 to 3 days. He puts out the fire. They bring him back on shore, give him a rental car, said, get to Houston International. You've got a private plane waiting there. And so Red is driving back to Houston International, and he's dying of thirst. And he stops at one of these small little places, little pubs on the side of the road. And he goes in and he says, I would like a beer. And the guy puts a beer up, and he says, that'll be $3.50. And Red reaches back like this and realizes he left his wallet in Kuwait. And he says, oh, shoot, or some variation of that. And he said, look, I'm Red Adair, the famous oil well firefighter. I have been fighting the fires in Kuwait, and I left my wallet in Kuwait. I had to get over here real quick. Could you give me this beer on credit? The guy says, I've never heard of Red Adair. He says, you're kidding. I've been in the newspapers. Everybody's talking about me, and I've got plenty. I can cover this. Can you please just give this beer on credit? The guy said, I've never heard of Red Adair. Anybody in this room ever heard of Red Adair? Red Adair's here. And some guy in the back at the bar said, you're kidding. Red Adair is here? I can't believe this. Come over here and let me buy you a beer. So Red goes over and sits down at the table and said, man, really, thank you very much. I was just dying. The guy said, Red Adair is sitting at my table. I can't believe Red Adair. You still dancing with Ginger Rogers? I told that story to my sophomore economics class at LSU. They didn't have the foggiest idea what I was talking about. So, well, I'd like to talk to you about several different things today, and hopefully we're going to have some time for some Q&A. There's so much going on out there right now that's interesting to talk about. But what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about these hurricanes, what the impact has been on the national economy and what the impact has been on the energy economy. The very good news is that pre-hurricane, the national economy was actually doing quite well. I'm going to just show you concentrate on these first 2 numbers here. This is a real gross domestic product. This is a Global Insights, a very famous forecasting firm out of Philadelphia. Many of you are aware of them. But if you'll notice that pre-hurricane, these are pretty good growth rate numbers for the national economy. As a matter of fact, 2004 was especially good. In 2004, we had growth rates of about 4.4%, a very, very good growth rate. It has been slowing down a bit, but still, these are very healthy growth rates. There are many countries in Europe, like Germany and France, for example, that would die to have growth rates like this. Very, very